Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cantina Conversations, the galaxy's #1 conversational podcast. Coming to you live from Hoth Base is myself, Will Beeman, joined by my two Canadian compadres. Starting off with Kylo Ren himself, DJ Gillard. Thank you for bringing back the cosplay this week.
I did. I brought back the red cosplay Kylo Ren costume. I still have not acquired any eyeliner. I've been searching for the right one. I don't want to just go out and buy any eyeliner. I want to get the one that's perfect for me. So I haven't got it yet, but in the future.
We'll know we've truly made it when DJ shows up in eyeliner.
Yeah.
And also joining us is the ever so lovely Jackson Wells. Jackson, how are you today?
Doing well. It's never too cold to snow.
Never too cold to snow. He's directed by Ryan Johnson today.
Correct.
I woke up to... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, shout out to the Muppets. Been watching that show. It's good.
The ABC short-lived series, right?
It's like so clearly not for kids, and I know that's why it got canceled. I don't know how it got greenlit in the first place, but it's a really good show. The show talks a lot about divorce and separation in a very strange way that's like pretty effective, and they spend a lot of time drinking at a bar after work, which is an interesting choice for a Muppet show, but it works well for me.
I think they were trying to be like, well, what if we had the Muppets grow up with our audience? Let's see how that works. And it didn't work.
People weren't ready.
Yep, they weren't ready. But I might check that out since it's on Disney Plus. How many episodes are there? Did it make it a full season?
It made 16, which I think is a full season for them, just not like a regular full season of a sitcom.
Yeah, I mean, that's still a good length. Like Freaks and Geeks, I just got done rewatching that, and I think that only has 18 episodes.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good show. But
how close are we to rebranding this podcast as a Star Wars and Muppets podcast? Because it seems to come up every single week in some shape or form.
It's because the Muppets are great.
I mean, I don't know. It's just...
Would you like to have a Disney podcast, DJ? Was that what you would prefer?
I would not prefer to have a Disney podcast.
Oh, I would love to do a Lilo and Stitch review.
Ooh, that'd be good. Every episode of the TV show.
Because I think there's a direct-to-DVD sequel, and then there was a TV show for that movie.
Wasn't there a real sequel? And then a direct-to-TV sequel?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No.
I'll accept it.
DJ believes in direct-to-DVD supremacies, so therefore
exactly.
It's a real
sequel. That's exactly what I meant.
That's why his favorite series isn't actually Star Wars, it's The Little Mermaid, because there was like 4 direct-to-DVD sequels for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Same with Lion King, now I think about it. Like, I think that even had a prequel at one point.
Lion King had this weird thing where there's Lion King 1, 2, and 3, and then there's 1.5, which is just like, why? Why was this made?
Well, maybe in a future episode we can break down the mythology of the Lion King series.
Right. It's basically the Rogue One of the Lion King franchise.
I was about to say it's a lot like Star Wars, where they're like, man, what happens? How did they get the plans to the Pride? And they got to go back and explain it.
How did Mufasa grow his claws to jump that guy off a cliff?
I've only seen the first Lion King. I have no idea what happens in the other ones.
I'm like 80% sure, if I'm undigging a childhood memory correctly, Lion King 1.5 is the first Lion King movie retold from only Timon and Pumbaa's perspective.
Sounds awful.
That sounds right. I know it is Timon and Pumbaa. I don't know why I have that in my brain, because like I've probably seen those all just once as a child. Like that's it.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that's ingrained in me, but that all checks out.
I know we had all of them on VHS back in the day.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I can see the copy from right here in my house.
DJ has a very large VHS collection.
Oh, does he?
No, I don't see Lion King over there. That's a shame. Well, good division, everyone. Shout out to us.
So that was this week's up. No, I'm just kidding. We did get dumped on like 7.5 inches of snow last night, though, so it feels like I'm on Hoth Base. So that puts me back into the Star Wars mood. So let's go over some news before we dive into the special episode that we have in store for today. The first news piece that we have that was revealed was Star Wars announced a new book that goes along the lines of the Myth and Fables lines. It's called Life Day Treasury, and it'll be written by Kavan Scott and George Mann. And it's kind of like the Myth and Fables books, where it's a set of folklore short stories that are contained within the Star Wars universe. You may have heard me talk about the first Myth and Fables book before, because I really love the story, The Knight and the Dragon, in there. That is like a legendary retelling of like Obi-Wan helping out a Tusken Raider village fight off a crate dragon.
You remember that?
So
The
I'm a
opposite
big
of
fan.
Anakin.
Yeah, so I'm a really big fan of the Myth and Fables story, and there cannot be a more directly targeted piece of Star Wars media than a Life Day folklore book, than this directed towards me specifically. There's going to be a collection of 8 stories centered around Life Day from all over the galaxy. There was some art revealed of some Ewoks in the snow with like a snow monster behind them. I do
art.
know, I can't remember which one it is. Oh yeah, Stellan from the High Republic is going to be
Our
the
voice,
character
Stellan
of one of
Gios.
the short stories.
Really?
So that's going to
Interesting.
be interesting to see how he comes into play. So
For such a cool name, he was pretty irrelevant.
yeah, the High Republic is continuing to have their influence throughout the galaxy. And
This
then,
is what Kathleen Kennedy does.
Yeah.
She shoves it all down our throats.
Yep. And then the second piece of news that I don't know how far into it we'll go. It just depends. But Jon Favreau a couple days ago said in an interview that The Mandalorian is going to end up leading into the sequel trilogy.
He's
that
gonna
has
fix them.
Yeah, that has certain parts of the Star Wars fandom in a meltdown now, because they've been thinking for years that they're going to be rebooting and retconning the sequel trilogy and making all new things. But I don't understand how this was like such a surprise to some people that they're leading the show into the sequel trilogy, given that when the show was announced, they even said they were going to be covering the formation of the First Order. In the last season, we got that episode of what could still allegedly be pickled Snokes. They haven't really been trying to hide. Yeah, they haven't really been trying to hide that we're going to be setting up the groundwork for how the sequel movies work. So I don't. Some people in the communities online, I don't wish I lived in their reality, because it seems to be a very angry filled reality, but it definitely isn't the same Earth that we're in. So maybe multiverse is confirmed.
That'd be good.
I don't know if you guys, I don't know if you guys have a comment on this news or not, because it did not seem surprising to me.
No, it wasn't surprising. As much as I don't want the sequels touched with, I would like to see the alternate. If we're going to have alternate universes, we might as well have one where we do something like that, right? Like let's mix it up, see what happens. But yeah, this is a pretty silly thing to be upset about. It's pretty obvious if you watch the show.
I think Jon Favreau should make a sequel to Chef about being an incredibly successful chef that everyone loves for the wrong reasons.
Are you going to go into further detail on that, or?
I've never heard of Chef, so I'm kind of.
You haven't heard of Chef, DJ?
I don't know what this movie is. Isn't that his first movie? Am I correct in that? No.
Okay. It came out in like 2015.
Okay.
Chef is based. It's like the most thinly veiled like analogy for like Hollywood filmmaking. Basically, like after Iron Man 2 was like a bomb, Jon Favreau kind of was like, "Wait, I don't know what to do with my life," or something like that. And so he
understandable.
Basically like made a movie about like kind of being a successful chef, and things fall apart, and he's got to learn to do it like for the love, and like not do it for like the big kind of big food. It's like a pretty like clear like analogy to his like work as like a Hollywood film director. And it's a very good movie.
It's an awesome movie. It's like one of my favorite feel good comfort food movies.
Mandalorian season 3 canceled. Chef 2 confirmed. Let's do
Honestly, I don't say I would prefer that. I would like to see that. Robert Downey Jr. has a really good cameo in that movie as like a sleazy like scumbag who like stole his wife.
That makes sense.
Very funny.
Yeah, and his wife is like the Sofia Vergara, isn't it?
Yes, his wife is played by Sofia Vergara.
Yeah.
Very 2015 movie.
Like it's a very learning how to refresh yourself from the Hollywood mainframe and like learn to love things again and start from scratch again. But the cast, even like down to the smallest cameos, are all like A-listers.
Yeah, very funny. That was why when he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make the Lion King," I was like, "But no, you taught yourself to love again."
He loved the Lion King, so that's
And
what he's
then you know
gonna
what?
do.
I was proved wrong.
Well, he did Jungle Book first,
Right, sorry.
That's true.
and then Lion King. Yeah, but now he's doing Star
Anyways.
Wars forever and ever.
Yeah,
But
he
Yeah.
can't leave us now.
Another very good indie filmmaker taken from us by Star Wars.
who? Jon Favreau?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one would be George Lucas.
Who also has a small part in The Wolf of Wall Street.
George Lucas is in The Wolf of Wall Street.
No, Jon Favreau.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
Because
Okay.
I rewatched that last week.
That would be
and then all
great
of a
if he
sudden-
was.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, and then Jon Favreau turned up, and I was like, I don't remember him being in this movie at all.
Never seen that.
Yeah, so that's it for the news. A little bit of show and tell. I did end up tracking down my very first Star Wars novel and got a copy of it to reread.
Very nice.
Glove of Darth Vader.
That looks very thin.
Yeah, it's not thick at all. I mean, it is
Oh
specifically
yeah, that's
for
a light
children.
read. Okay.
Like it's got big print and
Uh-oh.
images.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
but
cool.
I like pictures.
How much better
forgot
is it better than
how-
the sequels?
I
you know?
forgot how nonsensical some of this book is. Like,
Yeah.
It's got a magic glove on the cover.
Well, for example, Darth Vader's glove is invincible or indestructible, I should say. Just the right hand, though. So the left hand glove can be destroyed, but the right hand is an indestructible glove, and they did that because whoever takes over power, should the Emperor ever die, has to wear that glove to show that they're the chosen one to have the power.
The dark saber.
So there was people hunting for the glove, which they ended up finding because one of the slave leaders in the mines of Kessel was a three-eyed man named Trioculus, who is the son of the emperor. So they named him the emperor, or the new emperor. So he hunts down the glove of Darth Vader, which is found in this shipwreckage in the oceans on Mon Calamari. So while he's looking for the glove and like messing stuff up on Calamari, Luke is there with Admiral Akbar trying to help out this giant whale population from being hunted because it's disrupting Mon Calamari's ecosphere. So it gets into a real save the whales subplot, but it's like the first book of like 6 parts, but I'm not going to reread all 6 books. And I don't even think I read all 6 when I was a kid. I only know I owned this one and rented the rest from the library. But eventually how this saga ends up ending is Trioculus had a son that they hid on this secret underground Jedi culture who becomes a Jedi. So the grandfather of the grandson of Palpatine takes out his son who becomes the new emperor to take down the empire again. So
great.
Awesome.
So it is better than the sequels, is what you're saying.
What?
So it is better than the sequels, is what you're saying.
I'm just saying, like, the Rise of Skywalker really wasn't that far off from how the old extended universe was trying to handle the same situation.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't remember it ever really being that well received back then either. So it wasn't really a good idea in the early 90s. But
Star Wars needs more magical objects, like a glove.
Like a Horcrux?
Yeah, like we just have lightsabers. Why don't we have like other cool things, you know?
You don't know what a Horcrux is? That's like one of the few things of Harry Potter lore I know about.
I recognize the name. I have no idea what that is. I assume it's some sort of cross, maybe like a weird Satan's cross. I don't know.
It's just like these like 8 symbols or something that are like cursed in a way. But I'm surprised you're not into Harry Potter. That's like your gen's thing.
I know.
No.
Neither of us are. The only thing I know about Harry Potter is that people tell me I'm Ravenclaw, and I don't know if I'm offended or not. Like it just doesn't mean anything to me.
It
sounds cool, but
this is gonna make me sound like a massive nerd, more than a Harry Potter fan. I watched about 5 minutes of the Alfonso Cuarón Harry Potter movie, and I was like, that guy's a good director, and then turned it off.
Yeah, I've seen the movies and read a couple of the books, but that's the extent of my fandom. I got into Lord of the Rings instead. That's
Oh
the
yeah,
coolest
that yeah
looking.
that
Yeah, that's for the cool kids.
But today is the first episode of a special series that we are going to be doing, which is
Show within a show.
a show within a show led by our very own DJ Gillard. DJ is going to be, you've named it the HoloPod, right?
That is
You
like a
settled on that name?
temporary. It was supposed to be a temporary name, and I also can't think of anything better. So it's the
So we're
HoloPod,
sticking
I
with it?
guess. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess that's what we're going with here.
So this is the first episode of the HoloPod, and I'll let DJ take over and he can kind of explain what these are going to be.
Yeah. So when after we did the show from the original run, right? When we watched all the movies, then we watched the show. Like Star Wars for me before then was always this like kind of like a white whale where I'm like, I need to get into the lore. I need to do this. I need to get into the shows and the comics. So after we do that and we go through that whole thing together, our journey together, and I start digging into comics and I'm like, there's no way I can get Will and Jackson to read all the books I'm reading and for us to discuss them on the show. That's
Correct.
an unrealistic expectation for 3 people with 40-hour week jobs. Well, Jackson's in school, but I had a job. Well, you know what I mean.
Ooh,
You know
don't
what
be-
you know what I mean. We all have lives somewhat to certain extents. So I decided to kind of like rework it into a way that is kind of manageable for us. So I'm just going to kind of lead us through the story of these
we also don't
books.
expect the listeners to also read like dozens of books to follow along.
I want this to work in the sense that I can tell you the story and we can talk about it. And if you want to read the books too, as a listener, you can, but you also could just listen to this podcast and get a good idea of where the story is.
These are the reasons for the lore.
Yeah, the reasons for the lore. So
yeah, so we could almost go to say that these episodes are going to be Professor DJ Gillard.
Exactly.
He's going to educate us.
I'm going to educate you on all the things you don't know, Will, about Star Wars. I'm going to tell you about.
Yes,
I'm clearly the superior one now. So the first one that we're doing today, we're going to run through the Star Wars 2015 comic run, the first 2 volumes, and the crossover event. So it'll be 12-ish. Yeah, the Vader
Power
Down.
Rangers.
The Vader Down crossover event,
mind.
which was very popular at the time.
Okay.
So
not with Power Rangers.
No, there's no. It's a crossover event between Star Wars, not different brands. It's all in canon.
Dang.
Don't worry. So yeah, without further ado, the 2015 Star Wars comic run was rebooted in April 2015. I want to say after like the Disney sale and everything. Like they rebooted everything from Dark Horse. They brought it over to Disney, and Marvel started doing the comics. It's written by Jason Aaron. The artist changed throughout the entire thing, so I'm not. Shout out to the artist, but I can't go issue by issue and tell you each artist and each penciler and each thing and tell you who did it. So we're shout out to all of them. Jason Aaron done a ton of work with Marvel previously on Thor, Avengers, Wolverine.
His Thor run.
Jason Aaron fan.
Very, very. Oh, what Jason Aaron have you read?
What have I read?
Will's got to bring it. Will's got to bring us out his books now.
What? Speaking of lore. Oh, right. I forgot.
I have Southern Bastard in my notes of one to bring up too, but I was just like, gosh,
absolutely love that series from Image.
Okay, great. So yeah, Will showed us his Southern Bastards Compendium Omnibus or whatever you want to call it that he's got there.
It's exciting.
So these books will start us off just after, like pretty much immediately after episode 4. And one of the interesting things I like about these books is they feel like they don't know what's coming next in a way for like the actual characters. Like they actually feel like over the story of these books, they think they're going to take down the Empire in the next like few weeks. Like they think it's all happening, and like you're reading it and you're just like, you guys are fools. Like it's not going to happen. But it is cool to just see that kind of character development for them. So it starts us off with Han and R2. They're breaking into an Imperial base on Simoon 1, which is a moon of Corellia, which is very neat. A little throwback. They're posing as business associates for Jabba, which is kind of true because Han still works for him a little bit, but they're doing the typical Star Wars thing where you're like, we're working for this guy, and then there's 2 people wearing masks in the background. You're just like, yeah, I think I know who those 2 people are right there. So we take us in. They talk to the Imperials. They're trying to get the stocks in or whatever they're trying to bring in. Han says I have a very good feeling about this, of course. But then they take the masks off, and it's obviously Luke and Leia punching some Nazis, as you do. Let's see here. Luke finds some slaves as they fight. They fight down all the guards and everything, and they're trying to figure out what their next move is here. Luke finds slaves in the bottom, so he calls out to the Force for Obi-Wan to try to connect with him. And this is the kind of common theme throughout the book. Luke is really trying to get his connection with Obi-Wan again, trying to figure out because he's post A New Hope, right? He is trying to figure out what this is.
His understanding of the Force is it's a way for me to call Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and that is kind of one of the things I really like about this book is that he is constantly just I don't know what to do, but I also have this big laser sword and I can move things sometimes. So I'm going to keep doing that, I guess.
Is this the comic run too, where Luke is always wearing the Yavin jacket?
Yes, he is wearing the yellow jacket in every scene. It's good. You like that stuff.
It's a good jacket.
They got to sell those, right? For $400 on a Star Wars website.
Yeah. I've said before, I want that jacket. It's a nice jacket.
It is a good jacket.
So he takes out the guards, obviously, and he returns to Han and Leia with the slaves. Han and Leia are doing the typical Han and Leia, will they, won't they type thing throughout this as they kind of figure out their next plan and all that stuff. But then a ship arrives to try to take them out, and out of the shuttle comes Vader appearing before us. Obi-Wan tells Luke, you can't. No, there's no way we're doing this right now.
Obi-Wan will ignore Luke except for when he's about to get killed.
Yeah, except for he'll show up when it's necessary, But this kind of leads us into one of the big sticking points of this book that a lot of people take a lot of issue with. Luke and Vader have a little showdown here. It's very brief.
That early in the comic run?
It is issue 2.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not gonna bring up when the issue changes because we're gonna be going through pretty quick. So
yeah, well, I just knew we were doing the first 2 volumes, and I knew that they met in the comic. I just didn't know it was that quickly.
No, yeah, it happens pretty much immediately.
That's not canon. Is that the? Because
some people don't like it, but
from what I understand, my thought process is kind of where stuff like Clone Wars gets stuck, where they can't do certain things,
right?
Because the sequel to this movie is so defined, going in between, you can't have Han and Leia fall in love because they haven't yet, and they won't until Empire. So I wonder if things kind of get stuck up in this book where it's we all know that they do and they know it and they're kind of writing it, but they can't commit because of quote unquote canon reasons.
Yeah, and what you're saying is kind of exactly where this fight goes, where they want to introduce Vader, they want to do this thing, but they also can't really do it. So the fight they have is it's one saber slash, and then a ship comes in and breaks through, and they have to escape again. But it is interesting that they meet. They have a very good dialogue here, where Vader tells them you have no right to that weapon. Luke is you killed my father, and Vader has a fantastic line that is, Jackson, you'll know this. It's basically what Blight says in Batman Beyond, where Luke says you killed my father, and he'll be he's I've killed many fathers. You're going to have to be more specific. Vader is just because I guess Vader, and this is another thing interesting with this book, Vader doesn't know who Luke is, so he is talking to him just I kill dudes constantly. Who's your dad? I don't care. He's very nonchalant about it.
It's the end game too. You took everything from me. I don't even know who you are.
Exactly.
I love that energy.
So then as they're fighting, Vader actually ends up, because Luke's totally untrained still. Luke loses his lightsaber, and Vader actually picks it up. And this becomes interesting because Vader picks up the saber and kind of starts putting a sum of 2 to 2 together here, where he's like, Obi-Wan gave you this, and it's like, this is clearly like the relic from my past, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes this all leads into something that happens later in the book, but we'll get to that when we get there. A lot of the stuff here for the next issue is basically just some cool action, trying to escape in the Falcon. Han and Leia are doing their thing, because Luke, the ship crashes in on the Luke's and Vader's fight.
Is the tension there between Han and Leia at least?
Yes, the tension in this especially is Leia just not even trusting him yet, which is cool. It's not like the tension is, are we in love or are we not? It's like, can I even trust this dude to do his job at all?
Yeah, that's how their tension in A New Hope was. And then by
it feels
Empire, it's very sexual tension.
Yeah. So we get into the next issue here. After they escape somewhat, they escape in an AT-AT. Han and Leia steal one, and they're barreling through. Vader tries to take it down, but they kind of get away a little bit. And then we jump to Leia is discussing plans with Admiral Akbar and Mon Mothma about like what they're going to do next. And this is a really cool part because Leia is like very much at this point wants to finish the fight. She's just like, when she sees Vader arrive, she's like, this man killed my entire life. Like I want to do this. And the Rebel Alliance is like, no, like we can't. We got to save some forces here. Like we can't just go all out here. This is not the time. But it forces Leia and basically gives our context for why Leia and the group are alone for most of this. Trying to do it themselves.
I guess it's something you don't really think about a lot, but like the end of A New Hope isn't as like world ending as like Return of the Jedi.
No,
you think, oh, they blew it up, but like really, like Vader's still. I guess they don't know Vader's still alive. But, like they know that like the Emperor wasn't on that shuttle, so it's really they just blew up a military base. They didn't actually destroy the Empire.
Yeah, they took out one little thing, and then just we're still fine, honestly.
Yeah.
So at the start of the next issue, Vader confronts Jabba the Hutt after they escape. Vader and Jabba are great here because Vader clearly is not going to take it from Jabba, and Jabba is trying to do his typical Jabba stuff where he's like trying to pretend he's in charge, but he's not. Like Vader is in charge in this scene when they're kind of negotiating how it's going to work. And what Vader's negotiating here is that he wants to get bounty hunters to start tracking down Luke and figure out, because once he saw the lightsaber, he's like, I got to figure out who this kid is, more than ever. So he enlists the help of Jabba as bounty hunters, which we'll get back to. But we go back to Tatooine. We meet a new character. She's currently masked, but we'll get to her later. But at the end of the issue, Boba Fett appears, and he is interrogating many Tatooine residents about who this kid is in a very Boba Fett way, where he's just like, I'm just gonna kill you if you don't tell me. Which is
Boba Fett, honestly, master interrogator.
Exactly. I was very surprised reading this because this happens like 5 years ago. But he feels like the Boba Fett now, like in the way he talks. He's like more like obviously violent, but he has this same kind of like sarcastic tone to him, which I really like. And especially because like a lot of people, like myself included, were like, this is a very new version of Boba Fett, but it feels actually very in line with the one they did here, which is kind of neat.
Basically anything other than the 2 movies he was in.
Yeah, other than the 6 lines that he has, this is the most characterization he gets. So
interesting.
Luke ends up going back to Tatooine to go back to Ben's hut and try to figure out, what am I going to do here? Like, I need to figure out what being a Jedi is right now. So eventually him and Boba confront each other. Luke escapes Boba, but Boba figures out who he is. Really, he figures out the name. Well, Boba doesn't know, but he finds the name Skywalker, which leads us into after this part. There's a good panel that goes around all the time, which is the one where it's like Vader and Boba tells Vader the name of who the person is, and Vader like figures it all out, just like this is my son. Like Boba just walks in and he's just like, his name was Skywalker, and then Vader oozes his mind. Like he cracks the glass of where he's like the panel he's going out of. Like he
This is
figures
a
out
full
everything
page
that
spread,
happened.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's a full page spread.
I believe I've seen
It's
this.
great. But what do we think about Vader knowing? Which is an interesting tidbit that we did not get at all, really. And like in Empire, I don't feel like we really get that implication that he knows, but like you don't know where that comes from, right? So how do we feel about that?
This kind of adds the context to it, though, so that way he can be like, I know. And that way it adds more motivation to everything they do in Empire. It kind of makes it better.
Yeah, I think the one thing about like Empire, and like obviously he knows the end, he says it. I think it's interesting because you kind of get the idea that it's like he's so like powerful in the Force that he can like feel that connection to Luke, and then he knows. Whereas this is just like some dude in a helmet telling him, which I think is maybe a little different. I still think it works, and I'm not like 100% attached to the like original reading that I have, but it certainly looks cool. I just looked up the pages and it looks good.
Yeah, it's a very good. I wish I had the artist for that specific one, but yeah, it's really cool. I like how they add on to that a little bit, because it does make sense in the sense that like Luke is not totally entwined with the Force, really. Like how would he be able to feel that connection? So I think it's
The
good
only
that they
thing that
added
like
to it.
the only thing that hangs me up on it, though, like, and it's not really a problem of the comic from 2015. It's a problem from where the lore is now in 2021.
Right.
It's fallen into the Ahsoka trap now, where Vader's spending all of this time and energy trying to figure out who Luke Skywalker is, but he's not spending any time or energy trying to find where Ahsoka is, when he clearly knows from what we've gotten from Clone Wars that she's alive and out there. Because it's safe to say that Vader can assume Kanan's dead. Like, surely the death of Kanan made it to Vader. Ezra, they know, is off with Thrawn, and that's in like the undiscoverable part of the outer regions, so he's probably not worried about that either. But like, to me, all I can think about now is he knows Ahsoka's out there, especially with how the final scene in season 7 of Clone Wars is. I'm surprised he hasn't. And from their confrontations in Rebels, clearly word would have had to have gotten out that she was working with the Republic in some form with her and Sabine to find Ezra. You would think that would be a little bit higher up on his.
You would think, yeah.
On his list, on his to-do list, I guess. But
I wonder if it's
sister.
Yeah. I wonder if it's a kind of thing where we're never going to see this actually explored, but I wonder if there's a kind of thing where he's like, I can't do that. Like that's still like his one attachment where he's like, I can't do it. So maybe Obi-Wan will get into it. Who knows? Because that's another thing where it's like, why didn't he track down Obi-Wan? Like, did he know Obi-Wan was alive at all? How would he feel about that connection? I'm curious where that could go.
I think the two things for me on that is like, maybe his idea is like he can turn Luke, so he wants to get him, but Ahsoka could turn him, so he wants to stay away from her.
Maybe.
I think that's an idea. This is one of those things that like continues to fascinate me because of Mando now, we're like one step removed from Ahsoka and Luke meeting, and so
they gotta meet, right?
It's gonna blow my mind
at some point.
I know it's too set up for it not to happen. So I'm just like,
I almost wondered though too, we'll get back into the comic story in a second.
Yeah,
I
go
just
for
had
it.
this thought though, is like, what if the novel that the Mandalorian is getting to save on CGI cost has Ahsoka meeting Luke in it?
That would
Because
make
Disappointing.
sense.
they've already done that de-aging CGI, and that's going to be expensive to do for a whole episode versus an ending 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They should just
So
recast.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
they could recast, but
I mean, if they don't want to do anything with Luke in the future, I think you probably could do that because you wouldn't recast for one scene and you wouldn't also do the CGI for like one more scene. So that would
Yeah.
make sense.
anyway, continue, DJ.
Anyways, we jump back. Han and Leia are trying to find a new base for the Rebel Alliance to hide out. They head off to this new planet, and they're tracked by a bounty hunter that was also the bounty hunter that was in the mask on Tatooine earlier. She takes off the mask and reveals herself to be Sana Solo. And Solo, you might say, you might think a sister, a mother? No, a wife,
What?
technically. Han Solo was, no. Han Solo was married, apparently. She is a great character. She is a Black woman. She is very badass in everything she does. They are not actually married, to be clear. They had, it reveals later that they had a job together and they had to get married on paper. So they are technically married.
One of those weddings.
Yeah, they are technically married, and she calls herself Sana Solo to mess with him more than to actually do it because she sees Leia and she's like, you're doing your thing again. Like and she ends up figuring out that Leia is who she is, and like you definitely captured her, and you're gonna take her for the highest bidder. And Sana says to Leia just like, he probably turned down the money to the other bidder, right? And she's like trying to play it up like he's playing you and he's gonna take you in. So that kind of plays into Han and Leia's weird like relationship where Leia does not trust him at all yet, which is cool. Like she is an awesome character and an awesome addition. What do you guys think of Han being married? Just a wild thing to just throw in there.
Well, did you know this?
Yeah, I did. I just kind of like the Vader meeting Luke thing, though. I just didn't know any of the context behind it. So it makes a little bit more sense now that they did a job together and like had to pretend to get married on paper.
Happens all the time in real life.
But because I was gonna say like then if that was the case, they've already kind of retconned that whole thing with the Solo film, like.
No, yeah. I think this would have happened after Solo, I want to say.
Yeah.
I would
I mean, there's not much time between Solo and A New Hope for him
That's
to
true too.
find someone and get married, especially with his in love with Kira as he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Han Solo.
They definitely had a thing though. Like when you hear these two characters
it makes it work
talk.
a little better though, knowing that it was for a job.
Yeah.
Han Solo, you think he's a bit of a cad and a player, but really he was just a simp for that girl for like 12 years, and then she like
that's true.
Turns out to be evil.
You know what? That's true.
I almost forgot what happens at the end of Solo, but no, she definitely does turn evil.
She betrays them, somewhat. We'll find out where that goes soon in Solo 2.
Solo 2.
Once we make Solo 2 to happen.
I think this is really funny because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I like, and anytime someone like busts Han Solo's chops, he certainly needs it.
Yeah.
So I think that's funny.
They definitely do that throughout the entire thing where as their story goes, and like the Han and Leia story is kind of like a sideline thing, so I won't get into it too deep, as beat for beat at least. But as they go here, like Han and Sana and Leia start developing another attachment. We're just like, we hate this dude. Like this dude sucks, and it's that great. Like he's being caught in the middle, and just like what, like that classic Han Solo stuff. So it's really good.
I bet nerds loved their favorite character Han Solo being like made fun of for an entire comic run.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's my favorite thing. But Luke, after going back to Tatooine and trying to find more stuff, he gets information that he should go to Nar Shaddaa. Will, you probably know Nar Shaddaa.
Luke is separated from Han and Leia.
Yeah, Luke is separated this whole time.
That's
his own kind of thing.
That's a shame. The one thing I think the movies don't do enough is keep them together.
Yeah, no, and they bebop him around a little bit. But Will, you know Nar Shaddaa, right? I'm assuming.
It isn't ringing
No?
a bell right now.
Nar Shaddaa is a moon of planet. What's the planet called? I don't have the planet name here, but is a moon of the planet that originates the Hutts. So it
Oh.
is. It is very much looks like Coruscant in a real way, and it's near. I think it's in like the same like vicinity of Coruscant, but it is completely filled with just the worst people. It's just all
Is
bounty
this where
hunters
Gracchus comes
everywhere.
from?
This is we're getting to Gracchus over here. We're getting to Gracchus.
Mm.
So Luke goes to the bar, like tries to find some information. I'm like, hey, I need to get to a Jedi temple. I need to figure this one out. And then they see this guy walking in and trying to go to a Jedi temple with a lightsaber, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna steal that lightsaber. We're gonna steal this and sell it. Probably sell it to Gracchus, because after the lightsaber's stolen, lightsaber gets stolen by bounty hunter. Luke gets it back, whatever. Just some fun action here. But as he does that, appears Gracchus the Hutt over here out of nowhere to collect this lightsaber.
Before you go on, I want everyone to pause the
Yes,
show or continue
yes,
listening to the show. Open up Google and Google Gracchus the Hutt.
yeah, just
Grakkus.
yeah. You got it good job. You got his name perfect. Everyone please do that, because he is, I'll describe him, but he is amazing. He is a Hutt, but he is like completely jacked. Like he has like real arms, and like they're
Shredded
very
Jabba.
defined. I wish I had the artist for this episode or this thing, because they really do some work on that six pack there. They're really talented here. He wears a necklace of lightsabers, which gets us into like his kind of thing, where he is like trying to collect the relics of the past. And he has tons of Jedi stuff. Behind him he has like Magna Guards, which is like an offshoot of like Purge Troopers from Clone Wars. So he just like has these things that work for him. Like he's just got everything. Like he's the best. Um, he has robot legs, which are cool to just get around. So he's not like a slugging around all over the place. You can just go wherever. Um, but he captures Luke. He brings him back to his lair, where we see tons of old Jedi artifacts. There's like in the background of all each shots, there's tons of references to like stuff from Clone Wars, Jedi like statues. There's one that has like the white masks with like the yellow that you see in that one arc of Rebels. I can't remember what those dudes are called.
The Temple Guards.
Yeah, the guards. Yeah. But basically, why Gracchus wanted Luke, he pulls out a holocron, and he has a ton of them, but he's not force sensitive, obviously. So he's like, I can't open this thing. Like I need to know, because I'm trying to collect all this stuff. Like be
I
an
got a
archivist.
museum to make here.
Yeah, like he's posing as an archivist, but really he's got malicious intents for everything. But they force Luke to open them. All sorts of Jedi messages come out, and they're all like Clone Wars era, like, oh, escape, like we've been corrupted or whatever. Shakti is in one of them. She's like, don't let this be the end. Like we got to do this. It's very cool to see all these other like random Jedi do their thing in these holocrons. But it is cool just to see Luke finally get to do that and figure that one all out.
Did they have the Obi-Wan one?
They don't have the Obi-Wan one, and you're waiting for it, because you're like, this is the thing. Obi-Wan's been talking to Luke this whole comic. Like you gotta do this, but they did not do it, sadly.
That's that would be the Anakin reveal, though, wouldn't it? Doesn't he say, or no, he doesn't say that Anakin became evil in the holocron. I apologize.
Yeah, no. Oh well. The rest of this book takes a bit of a turn, which we're not going to talk about the rest of this one too much, because it's not bad. It's just like a lot of like action stuff that keeps happening. Dengar shows up as Vader, like in most of all the bounty hunters. He fights Chewie. They have a good fight going on.
Dengar.
It's fun. There's this cool dude called the Game Master, where Luke gets thrown into, Gracchus throws him into like a pit. Like it's very similar to like Jabba the Hutt in episode 6, where he's fighting this big monster, and there's this dude that looks like Malicos from Jedi Fallen Order. He's got like a white hood. He doesn't wear a shirt ever, which is great. and he's an agent of Vader, but he kind of wields a lightsaber somewhat. Sometimes he kind of knows what he's doing there, so he's very cool. But the rest of the book is just mostly action stuff until the end, where we eventually get to a point where Sana finally admits that they're not actually married, obviously, and her and Leia like finally get that trust, and it kind of grows into like it gives us that bit more context where Leia kind of finally trusts Solo, because he obviously they go through the thing, he admits what happened, all this stuff, and he's like, okay, you're not just trying to sell me. This is good. Thank you for not trying to kill me. Thank you, I guess. So it is good to see that kind of context where it kind of brings the relationship back to leading us into Empire a little bit here. Yeah. So that will be it for that run. But everyone, please, I wanted to talk about that one for sure, just because Gracchus, because he's the best. Like, he's so cool.
He is a good character.
Yeah.
Just from the images and the Wikipedia that I read about him.
Yeah. He comes back up in the Poe Dameron series, which I want to get to one day, because you gotta
figure out what happened with Gracchus.
Whatever happened to Gracchus the Hutt, I gotta know.
That would make him alive long enough to show up in Mando.
It would, maybe, yeah. Because
the Hutts couldn't have disappeared just because Jabba died.
No, because I think
still got Stinky.
I think I looked this up when I was reading this. The Poe Dameron comic is before Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But then,
sadly,
oh, we have one. Okay, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I got confused. I had a brain fart.
You got confused.
I forgot what how A New Hope opened again. Like,
DJ's like, but Jackson, Mando came out in 2019.
I was legitimately like, Mando's after Force Awakens for some reason. Like, not even like I thought that, just like in my head, I got the wires crossed. But no, he could show up in Mando. That would be great. Him and Stinky can hang out.
We
need our Stinky redemption tour.
We do, yeah.
Exactly.
DJ, what are your biggest takeaways from this book?
The biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway is how it kind of bridges a bit of a gap between the New Hope and Empire, and it does a cool thing where it starts us off all with the characters as we left them, instead of Empire feeling so distant. This one is just like, it's right after, and we get to see where Han and Luke go, where Leia is in her arc going on here. So that's kind of like what my favorite thing about this book would be. I really like the book, honestly. The book has been great so far. But now we'll be jumping into Vader Down, which is the big crossover event between Star Wars, the main run, and the Vader book.
The Sewell Vader, right?
No, the Sewell Vader is between 3 and 4. Yeah. So this was a Vader that was happening beforehand, before that one in our universe, obviously. So Vader, now knowing who Luke is hunting him down, trying to find him with the help of our favorite bounty hunter, Dr. Aphra. And Dr. Aphra was her introduction into the comics around this time. She is does anyone, I know Will, we've talked about it before, but do you have any history with Aphra at all? Like, do you know anything?
I know a good chunk of her backstory.
Okay. She's like, at this point, she's like working with Vader, like as a normal bounty hunter, just trying to make her way, you know? She claims to be an archaeologist, like many of these do, but, you know, she's obviously not. She's stealing stuff. She's selling stuff, whatever. Excuse me. But she's working with Vader to try to track down Luke. They track him down, the rebels, at Vargas Voss, which is above this like cool Jedi like homeworld planet that they had. Vader shows up from Lightspeed, and the rebels are like having a training exercise. Basically, they're just like doing their rounds in their ships, and then Vader just shows up in his bomber, and they're like, we should probably take down that one. That's Vader. They don't. They all get destroyed. As
surprise.
Yeah, surprise. Vader is pretty good in that ship, as we know.
Well, he's
Um,
one of the greatest pilots
but
ever.
then Luke, yeah, but Luke is like the rebels have reunited at this point, so Luke is there and he comes out of the docking bay. And he's like, I gotta get this guy down. He doesn't even try to shoot. He doesn't even try to do anything. He's just like, I'm taking this guy with me, and he just crashes into him like Episode 8 style in the middle of space. They fall down to the planet, and that's Vader down. They crashed him. You get the title now. It's all explained.
Vader is
Down.
down. Okay,
Down.
okay.
He
I
didn't
got
go
it.
up. He went down.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what? You can't get up, and you get knocked down, and I get up again. Yeah,
There you
there
go.
it
We're
is.
gonna
There you
bring you
go.
down.
Thanks, Will.
So they land on the planet. They crash land. Leia and Han are debating like what to do here, because Leia is what this is real quick. Leia is in her like post Alderaan kind of mindset here, where she's like, we got to get him. Like we can't risk anyone. Luke is like, they know Luke crash land. And Han's like, we got to save our friend. And Leia doesn't even care. Leia's just like, we got to get this guy. Like I don't care. Like all forces are going to him. And so then Han kind of abandons them. Just like, I'm saving our boy. You know, like we can't do this. Which you get both perspectives, honestly, because Leia is like, what does Luke really mean to her at this point? Honestly, just another soldier.
They've only shared. They haven't even shared a kiss yet.
Yeah, they haven't even kissed yet. Like,
Oh wait, that's not true. They kiss in the Death Star for luck.
Mm-hmm.
do they?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
and
I forget.
Leia
I
do,
forget
yeah.
everything about A New Hope. So
Including the opening.
exactly. Don't know anything about that movie. I've actually never seen it, believe it or not. So Vader has this good line that I'm sure everyone has seen. Everyone that's listening has probably seen, where the rebels go all out attack, and the rebels scream out just like, "You are surrounded. Lay down your weapon." And Vader has the "All I am surrounded by is fear and dead men" line, and then he
It's a
just
good line.
he takes him out. Like he does the thing where he's like, "All right, I'm doing this. I guess you forced my hand."
Vader's so cool
Yeah,
sometimes, not gonna lie.
Now take that really good line of dialogue, but then picture it being delivered by Hayden Christensen.
Thank you.
All I'm surrounded by are fear and dead men. Ah.
That was pretty good.
Did we lose DJ?
Afra is
Oh, there he
figuring
is.
out her next. I'm sorry, I glitched out for a second. Afra's figuring out her plan here. She's with two droids, and I'm curious with Will if you know these ones at all. BT and 000. Jackson, you have a question?
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, someone has no idea who Afra is. Is she good? Is she bad?
Sorta. Like
she's like not good now, but as her story unfolds, I don't want to
she'll
spoil
get
for
there.
DJ because he's going to keep reading these, but as
I know
her
she
story
kinda gets
goes, she becomes good.
Is she one of those ones though where like you see her in her first and you're like, she's gonna become good at some point?
Yeah,
I think people knew
know.
because she became a
Yeah.
You know,
fan
she's
favorite,
just
like,
working for
immediately.
Vader.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she got her own comic run. Like I don't think they started with her. I think they just had her in Vader first, and then they gave her her own run.
And then she got her own comic.
Yeah, but you know that she's going to be good in the end. But right now she's trying to make it, and I respect it. Sometimes you got to work with the biggest dark Sith in the universe to pay rent. Like I get it.
Yeah.
Just
we
doing
all
the
have our
job.
cross to bear.
It's just a job.
The droid
Yeah.
000 that she has is awesome too.
Yeah, this is what we're going to BT and 000, who are offshoots of R2 and C3PO, respectively. They are like full black versions, basically, of them, and they are like complete opposites in the way. BT is like just kind of there, just hanging out. Every now and then he'll pull up a bunch of guns and just be like,
He's
I
got
could
guns?
shoot you. Yeah, like he instead of like pulling out like little like things and gadgets like R2 does, he's just like, oh, I have this machine gun here and this minigun that I could just use,
Perfect.
And 000 is like C-3PO. Like he has that kind of like very dry
British.
dialogue. I imagine he's British as well. But he has that very dry dialogue, but instead of like being dry in like a very comical way, it's more like dry and like, oh, I could just kill you. Like he's very.
Is he kind of like here's my touchdown. I'm playing a lot of Hitman recently. Agent
Okay.
47 makes a lot of jokes about like killing. Is it kind of like that?
It's kind of like that, but he's direct, where he's just like, I would just kill you. Like, that's it.
Very good.
So he's great. And I was trying to find his backstory, but I couldn't find anything about it. But in my head, Vader creates him after he becomes dark. He's like, I need the dark version of the droid I made when I was a kid. I need this one that's evil.
That's good headcanon.
That's my headcanon for his origin. I have no idea what his actual origin is. I know he mostly hangs out with Dr. Aphra. In the end, he abandons his life with Vader.
That's good headcanon, though. That's much
my
better than like, I'm rewriting the sequels. They're in a different universe.
Yeah. The best kind of headcanons are when you do, you know, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Most of the rest of this book is mostly action, which we don't need to talk about too much, just because it's obviously works better in the comic form. There's a character that comes up, another bounty hunter, which was because throughout the course, like when Vader almost a job, but bounty hunters are showing up all over the place, trying to get him. So this one's Black Kras. I wrote it down. Black Krasatan, who is a Wookiee that is full black, and he has like cool armor. And he kind of hangs out with Aphra a bit. They clearly know each other and like each other. He is rumored to be in. The original rumors say he was going to be Mando season 3, but I think a lot of people are now thinking it's going to be Boba Fett, which makes a ton of sense. So he would be a cool character.
Guy?
Yeah, the Wookiee, which would be very cool. I think he's very brutal. Him and Chewie fight, which is we never get to see Wookiees fight. So excited to see that when it eventually happens. There's eventually, as the action kind of happens, Luke kind of escapes, or Vader kind of takes everyone out. Luke is trying to Han tracks down Luke, rescues him and everything. But then Leia joins the fight. She tries to take Vader alone, pretty much, which is a mistake, as we all might know. But it is good, and it is another kind of thing where Leia has this really good dialogue where she kind of like tells Vader off and just like, you could kill me right now, but like you won't kill what I stand for. She references Alderaan, like she is definitely in that form, which is great. She orders a suicide strike straight up, which I thought was a bold choice, where she is like, she orders the rebels to just strike up this entire place where she is with Vader, and she was just going to distract him. It doesn't work, as you might guess, since we have 2 other movies. They kind of happened.
She's in 5 other movies.
Yeah. There's another character that shows up who I want everyone to look up as well. He kind of shows up as a rival to Vader, Commander Carbon, who has big Grievous energy. He is a Mon Calamari, but he is in a full mech suit and he wields lightsabers. Like he's just Grievous, but Mon Calamari, and he is like, he's trying to take Vader's place basically. And Vader's just like, you're not a Jedi, man. You're not a Sith. Like you can't do this, man. You're just a guy. Wow. I knew Grievous. He sucked. Like I hated that dude.
Will, are you looking this guy up?
No, I'm not.
Please do.
You need to.
You need to.
Is right
Commander
now.
Carbon.
Yeah, I just put it where you can see it.
Everyone listening, please look him up as well.
Wow, he that's certain. It looks like
that is great. That is so good.
He looks like this is a point of reference. He looks like a more badass version of Meek from Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, he does.
I remember Meek, but I don't remember what he looks like for some reason. I
A
get it
less
though.
cooler version of that.
Yeah. And so imagine Meek, but Mon Calamari and a droid with lightsabers that he spins around Grievous style all the time. It's
That's
great.
good.
At a certain point here during the fight, Obi-Wan actually reaches out because they're at like a Jedi temple ruins basically for the entire time. So Obi-Wan actually reaches out to Anakin and he calls him Anakin, straight up. And he's like, your thoughts betray you. It was never you for the prophecy. It was always Luke, which is what he tells them, which whether Obi-Wan believes that or not, like we know how the series ends and like whatever you want to take, how that all works, it doesn't totally matter. But Vader is clearly bothered by this, and now he is desperately trying to get Luke, but they do end up escaping. Afra tries to take them down once and for all, but Leia appears out of nowhere, punches her out, and they kidnap Afra. And that's kind of how the book ends after Vader kills Carbon because he's like, I've had enough of this dude, which is a shame because you want more Commander Carbon in your life.
Commander Carbon Black Series when?
Yes, that would be. I would buy Commander Carbon and Gracchus as a dual set.
Yeah.
You can make them fight each other.
That's so cool.
Both those character designs are great.
Yeah.
That's stuff you miss out on by not reading the comics.
If you don't read the comics, you don't get it.
Yeah.
If you don't have someone tell you to look it up on Google, you don't get it. So
yeah, we're gonna have to do some work in promoting these two online to people.
Yeah, exactly. We're definitely standing Commander Carbon.
Yeah, for sure. The book kind of ends abruptly not abruptly, but just like it's a comic, so like it's leading you to the next issue. With Afra kidnapped by our crew and the crew escaping, Vader failing, and because he had to, obviously. So yeah, the book just kind of ends there, and Luke is at this point where he is like, excuse me, talking too much, man, talking too much. Luke is like still trying to figure out what his next step is on his path after all this. So that's the book. How do you guys feel about it? Do you like it?
That sounds really good.
Yeah. Also, I've been kind of, as you've been talking, I've been kind of like, when like you mentioned moments, I like Google them to look at them. This book's got some really good art.
It does.
Specifically Vader Down. And I had actually looked it up, but then I got too distracted looking at pictures of Commander Carbon to remember.
Don't we all?
Who did the art? But yeah, I like this. I like the one thing I like about the comics that they do sometimes is when they're at their best is when they're not just like retelling like stories that are like kind of similar where it's like Han and Leia go on like a little mission and Luke does his own thing and there's like kind of intricacies. It's when they do like weird stuff like we gave Amon Calamari 8 lightsabers and a like robot body.
Yeah,
I think like you've got to work with the medium, not like against it. And that's one of the issues I think comics has in general. So I'm very happy to see them doing weird stuff like this.
Yeah, I think it's that tension is like I think at the core of what the comics have been, and especially what they started out being. And I think they went in a completely different direction after this because we didn't really talk about it at the moment. We kind of talked about our thoughts on it, but Vader and Luke meeting at that first book was contentious at the time. Like that was a thing for people that people did not like. And some people did like it. I personally, I don't love it. Honestly, it's one of the things I don't love because I feel like it takes away a bit from Empire, but they do a good enough job where it's like, it's not a confrontation. It's more like they just kind of see each other. They hit the lightsabers once, they talk. Yeah. So I don't mind that, but I do like that the comics went in a very different direction here, where they're much more character based.
Yeah, and it's also like if they're gonna like edge Empire stories on us, like I'll just watch Empire.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I like with the book is that it is doing the Empire thing with the Han and Leia thing, but it is like, and we gave Han Solo a wife, and how does that affect everything?
Yeah,
which is great. I think it's a great change up for all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Will, do you have any other thoughts?
it'll be interesting to see how the storytelling carries forward, because if I'm correct, the entirety of this Star Wars run until they reboot it with Soul from, which I think started last year, I think
Yeah.
all takes place between 4 and 5.
It does, yeah. Everything goes up.
So that's a lot of years of storytelling that they're fitting into that time
It's like
period.
70 issues.
Yeah, so I'm
Comics.
curious to see how far they go with bringing new stuff in before they're too against where Empire is at, you know? Like
Yeah.
they're like just this early on, we've already got Gracchus and Commander
Yeah, where could we go from here?
Carbon. So I'm curious to see, as you keep reading and reporting to us, how many of those cool characters keep coming in. Because like Dr. Aphra, I've only cared about just because I'm certain she's going to make her way into television or a movie or a cartoon at some point. So I read up on her just to be informed on that. But other than that, the comics, except for like, I knew that Vader met Luke. I knew they reveal Han had a wife, but I don't know any of the backstory to any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what keeps coming out of the comics.
I hope we see more Stana because she's great. I want to know more. I don't know if she comes up again.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know where the next, like, I don't know. I'm going to keep reading, but I don't know, like, because this book is like very connected to episode 4, which I think is a good touch because like, I want to get you guys involved. And if it kind of goes off in its own directions, then it kind of doesn't make as much sense. So I don't know if we'll do these again. I mean, I enjoyed it. To our audience now, like this was a test run, obviously, like with the first time doing it. We can't do a test of this 2-hour thing or whatever. Like you can't. So
you just got to do it.
Yeah, we just
Dear
gotta do
listeners,
it, so.
let
Did
us
you
know.
like it? Yeah.
Are you interested in Gracchus the Hutt? Have you Googled him yet?
Have
if
you
not,
Googled Gracchus the Hutt?
If you want DJ to continue educating us on the comic world,
yeah,
please let us know.
I enjoyed it.
I had fun.
If you guys want to do one too, like that'd be fun too. You know,
I've downloaded a couple things that I think are weird that I want to dig into. I just haven't had the time yet.
We got to at least do the next 2 volumes.
You think so?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to.
Okay.
Hmm.
There's 14 volumes of this comic, so we're not doing every single one. That was only 3.
Yeah.
So if we do it again, I'll be very pick and choosy about like, okay, here's where the actual things matter, where it would be relative to everyone. So.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks, Professor DJ.
Thank you.
Or Grandmaster DJ.
Yes.
I'm on the council, but now I have the rank. I was on the council before without the rank of master, but now I do, apparently.
Yeah, that was good. That's the debut pilot episode, I guess, of the HoloPod.
Not a new show, a new segment. So a show within a show.
I liked it. I had fun.
Awesome.
Now I know that Commander Carbon exists, so I'm going to be spending the rest of the day looking at artifacts.
It's the rest of your day.
Yeah.
Great start to my morning was learning about Commander Carbon.
Is there anything in closing you want to say, DJ, or is that pretty much wrap it up?
You close it up, man. Close the show.
Jackson, anything from you at all?
Any more Muppets takes for us?
I'm glad you asked. No, I'll be holding all my Muppet takes for now.
You're going to do an episode about that, of course.
Yeah, next week we'll do the casting of the Star Wars Muppets movie.
I told you we're doing this.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Isn't our secret guest into Muppets as well? Am I making that up?
I'm pretty sure,
yeah.
Maybe that could be something we do then. We have a secret guest coming up, by the way, everyone. Please be excited.
So we'll have to figure that out. But if you liked the HoloPod segment, please let us know on Twitter at Cantina Convo. If you want to tell DJ that he did a great job personally, DJ, where can they find you at? On
DJ_Gillard on Twitter.
And Jackson, where can they find you at?
You can find me at Jackson WLs. I feel like I'm going to listen to some David Bowie this week, so if you want to hear some takes on that, that's where I'm going to put them. Don't be mean to me.
I don't know.
Music master DJ. He's having some Bowie.
I don't know
Bowie
what the Venn diagram is for our listenership and David Bowie listeners. I guess David Bowie's popular, so I'm sure there's a few. But
David Bowie's
I have
got a
a
lot of
Bowie album on
space themed
vinyl.
stuff.
yeah,
The Rise and
okay.
Fall of Ziggy Stardust is like space opera.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you can find me on Twitter at WOBeeman.
Beeman.
Next week, I believe our episode will be about the Claudia Gray novel.
Is that,
Right.
is that
That-
next week?
That
'Cause
comes out
should
on
be
Tuesday.
releasing the day after this episode goes live. So
I'll
that's
be
just a
Really?
young adult novel, so we'll be able to fly through that one.
yeah.
We won't have to do that in multiple parts. We'll just do a review for that book in one part or
Yeah,
one
it's a bit
episode.
shorter.
So until next time, I think that's all that we have. So thank you for joining us, and may the force be with you.